Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into Dr. Joe Dispenza's fascinating framework. We are looking at the incredible idea that you can literally alter your biology and fundamentally rewrite your reality just by changing your thoughts.
Okay, let's dive into this. It's a massive, high-stakes question, isn't it? Can what you think actually heal a physical illness or completely rewrite the person you've been your entire life? Well, according to the research we're exploring today, the answer is a resounding yes. But, and it's a big but, it requires breaking out of deep neurological ruts that most of us don't even realize we're trapped in. So, here is our roadmap for today. We'll be covering 1. The survival state trap, 2. Decoding your brainwaves, 3. Achieving heart-brain coherence, 4. The formula for change, and finally, 5. Stories of transformation. We're going to break down the actual biological mechanics first before getting to some truly extraordinary transformation stories. Let's start with Section 1, the survival state trap. You know, why do so many of us feel stuck in endless loops of anxiety, overthinking, and just generally negative emotional patterns, even when things in our lives are actually going okay? It basically all comes down to a specific network in your brain called the default mode network, or DMN. Think of the DMN as your brain's ultimate energy-draining predictor mechanism. It consumes an enormous amount of neurological energy trying to anticipate what will happen next, and it bases those predictions entirely on your past experiences. So when we're stressed out, this network literally traps us in a state of constantly anticipating the absolute worst-case scenario. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the stark contrast between living in survival versus living in creation. When you're in a survival state, pumped full of stress hormones, your focus gets extremely narrow. You're obsessed with fear and constantly trying to predict the future based on past threats. A creation state, on the other hand, requires the exact opposite. It demands a broad focus. It requires being completely anchored in the present moment, feeling gratitude, and actually being willing to step into the complete unknown. But getting to that creation state, yeah, it's tough. Because, as the source material explains, we can literally become addicted to the rush of our own stress hormones. That adrenaline rush becomes our chemical baseline. Without even realizing it, people unconsciously relive their trauma 50 to 100 times a day by thought alone. And since your body doesn't know the difference between an actual event and a memory, it just constantly attempts to control an unpredictable world, which firmly keeps you stuck in the past.
Moving on to Section 2, decoding your brainwaves.
So how do we actually break this chemical addiction? We have to look at the neurological hardware. To change these deeply ingrained emotional addictions, we have to fundamentally change the frequency our brains are operating on. Most of us live our waking lives in beta. We're focused on the outer world, we're conscious, alert, and often highly stressed. But when you slow your breathing and close your eyes, you transition into alpha. Your inner world opens up, and that harsh inner critic finally shuts off. Drop even deeper into theta, and you reach a hypnotic, highly suggestible state where your body is deeply relaxed, but your mind is awake. This effectively removes the analytical veil and gives you direct access to your mind's core operating system.
This is absolutely crucial to understand. Just having a cognitive, intellectual insight about your problems doesn't actually change your behavior. I mean, you can know exactly why you're anxious, but still be totally anxious, right? To actually install new mental software, you have to biologically slow your brainwaves down. You have to bypass the conscious mind to access the subconscious directly. Which brings us to Section 3, achieving heart-brain coherence.
There is a massive physiological bridge between the brain and the body, and it's the heart. When you shift your focus away from your narrow, stressful problems and instead broaden your focus to space, essentially focusing on nothingness, something wild happens. Your heart begins to beat in a highly synchronized, orderly rhythm. This coherent rhythm acts like a biological drumbeat, sending a powerful wave of energy straight up to the brain. This signal literally tells your amygdala, your brain's primary survival center, that the threat is over and it can finally switch off.
I love this quote from the material. When we master our emotions, we master our creations, and that memory without the emotional charge is called wisdom. Changing your internal state doesn't mean you somehow magically erase your traumatic past. Actually, scratch that. It's more like it liberates you from the biological pain and the emotional charge associated with it. The memory simply becomes wisdom.
Let's look at how to do this in Section 4, the formula for change.
So the crucial point is, how do we put all this complex science into practical application?
It breaks down into a 3-step formula. Step 1. You literally have to sit in the unknown, catch yourself going unconscious, and consciously stop the old habits. Step 2. Open the heart and intentionally cultivate elevated emotions, like deep gratitude or love, before the actual event even happens. And step 3. Mentally rehearse your new behavior or your new future while holding firmly onto that elevated emotion. Now, if you're wondering how sitting around mentally rehearsing things actually works, check out this wild neurological fact. Your brain honestly does not know the difference between a real-life external experience and an experience you are actively and intensely imagining. By mentally rehearsing your desired future, you are literally priming your brain. You're installing the neurological circuitry of the future before it even takes place. To make this stick, though, you need both pillars of change. Knowledge is for the mind. That's learning the science and the information, which builds new synaptic connections. But experience is for the body. You have to physically feel the elevated emotion to chemically teach your body what that new reality feels like. Just having one without the other won't lead to lasting transformation. To put this into a daily protocol, it's recommended to practice right before bed or upon waking up, because that's when your brainwaves naturally slow down anyway. Spend just 10 to 15 minutes feeling profound gratitude. And consistency is key here. Never miss a day. The hardest part? When you go about your day and inevitably get triggered, you cannot default back to the old self. To put the power of this into perspective, the data suggests that practicing this gratitude protocol just before bed can boost your immunity by 50% in a few days simply by altering your gene expression. Finally, Section 5, Stories of Transformation. Let's look at what the research claims actually happens when people apply this intense formula and overcome themselves. According to data gathered at Dr. Dispenza's retreats, it only takes 7 days for complete novice meditators to show massive biological shifts. Within just one single week, researchers observe dramatic changes in their microbiome, their gene expression, and their blood metabolites, purely through this mental and emotional protocol. And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer scale of the internal shift. In those 7 days, scans showed the default mode network effectively shutting down. The body literally begins producing its own endogenous opioids, which are natural pain-relieving morphines. Neural growth factors spike rapidly to grow new brain connections, and the cells themselves begin to metabolize and work vastly more efficiently. And again, this is all without any external drugs or interventions. Now, the source material reports some highly extraordinary medical claims stemming from these biological changes. These include a young man reversing muscular dystrophy and walking out of a wheelchair, blind individuals regaining their sight, and even a documented case involving the physical regeneration of surgically removed portions of a colon and rectum. While these are undeniably extreme medical turnarounds, the source attributes them entirely to the untapped capacity of the mind-body connection to regenerate when given new genetic information. Behind all the science and the astounding claims is an immense amount of human resilience. As one patient with a massive tumor stated, "I had one of two options, die or show up for myself." They did their meditations 3 times a day, refusing to get up until they truly believed in their future. It really highlights the sheer, uncompromising effort it takes to push past doubt, pain, and the familiar past. So, what does this all mean for us? Well, if mastering your focus and elevating your emotions can quite literally rewrite your biology and change the very wiring of your brain, who will you choose to be tomorrow? Are you going to let the past predict your future, or will you step into the unknown? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep exploring the incredible possibilities of your own mind.